The princely British school parking lot gleamed under the morning sun, lined with sleek black SUVs and luxury sedans. Their tinted windows shielded the faces of the wealthy elite, students who wore their privilege like second skin. As the doors opened, boys in crisp Italian loafers and girls in tailored blazers stepped out, exchanging air kisses and polished laughter. Welcome to Princely British School. Here, status wasn't just important, it was everything. Meet Friday, a quiet and gifted artist whose life took an unexpected turn. After losing his parents, he found himself adopted by an old friend of his father, a man far richer than he ever imagined. Now, Friday lives under the same roof as Ivy Brown-Ogota. Ivy and Friday are both final year students at Princely British School, but their worlds couldn't be more different. Friday is an outsider, navigating a school filled with designer bags, luxury cars, and students who have never known struggle. But while they share a home, their worlds couldn't be more different at school. At Princely, Ivy is royalty. She is effortlessly beautiful, and though her parents don't spoil her like her wealthy friends' families do, she still commands attention because of her fashion style and beauty. It's no surprise she's dating Paris Kingston, the richest and most influential boy in school. Paris is charming, arrogant, and used to getting everything he wants, including Ivy. Then there's Houston Wells, Ivy's best friend, fierce, fashionable, and ruthless. She knows the game of power and status better than anyone and won't hesitate to remind others where they stand. But things are about to change. A moment of pride, a mistaken last name, a scandal that will shake the entire school. Will Friday finally find his place in a world that never accepted him? Will Ivy choose love, status, or something more? Find out in this gripping high school drama filled with love, rivalry, betrayal, and unexpected twists. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more episodes. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the drama. Let us know in the comments, Team Friday or Team Paris? Let's begin here. Houston flipped her sleek ponytail, eyeing the old Toyota Corolla that had just pulled in. The car looked out of place, a stark contrast to the luxury surrounding it. From the back seat, Friday Mackin stepped out of the Uber, his new school uniform slightly oversized, his sneakers dull from years of wear. The whispers began immediately. Ivy's face tensed. Ivy, who's that newbie? You have an admirer. He keeps looking at you. Houston smirked, eyeing Friday's faded backpack and outdated clothes. Now Ivy wished she had helped Friday with his school appearance. She responded, Houston, that is one of our help's child, Ivy said quickly, her voice barely above a whisper. My dad insists on giving him a good education after he left his old school. Friday paused for a moment, his sharp eyes meeting Ivy's. But before he could say a word, she turned away. He felt small, stuffing his hands into his pockets. So that's how it was going to be. At Princely British School, he was nobody. From that first day of the school term, Friday stayed clear of Ivy's circle. At home, they exchanged words when she felt like it, but in school, she barely acknowledged his existence. No glances, no greetings, nothing. But today, that was about to change. The Grand Assembly Hall was packed, students whispering excitedly, waiting for the announcement. Principal Anderson stepped onto the polished wooden stage, his signature proud smile firmly in place. He adjusted his glasses before addressing the crowd. We are delighted to celebrate one of our own, he began, his voice clear and authoritative. A student who has demonstrated resilience and talent despite challenges. Please give a round of applause for Friday Brown-Ogota, who has won a fully funded scholarship to study abroad. Friday's talent had always been his escape. With a brush in hand, he could create worlds far beyond the limits of his reality. But he never imagined that his painting, just an entry in an international competition the art teacher recommended, would change his life. When the principal called him to the stage, the entire school was in shock. Friday Mackind was a Brown Ogota, the new student from a modest background, had won a full scholarship to an Ivy League university. He wasn't just good, he was exceptional. More than that, he had made history. Princely British School prided itself on producing students who secured admissions to prestigious universities abroad, but Friday was the first this year, despite having only joined the school that term. As he stood in the spotlight, the whispers began. How had the poor boy done it? The same students who once ignored him now saw him clearly. And for Ivy, the shame was unbearable. Silence. The principal voice vibrant over the speakers. Wait, what? Ivy's last name is Brown Ogota. She lied. Maybe she's a scholarship student too, Houston viciously whispered, her smirk widening. Ivy's stomach dropped. She could feel the weight of hundreds of eyes turning toward her, the whispers laced with judgment. Paris, sitting beside her, folded his arms across his chest. His jaw tightened, his irritation barely concealed. This wasn't what he expected. Houston's eyes gleamed with amusement, enjoying every second of Ivy's discomfort. On stage, Friday stood still, his back straight but his expression unreadable. He wasn't used to attention, and certainly not like this. He had spent his life trying to remain unnoticed, but now he was the center of princely British school scrutiny. Principal Anderson continued, oblivious to the tension in the room. Oblivious he had wrongly mismatched Friday's surname. When Ivy's father had registered his adopted son, the principal took it literally. Mr. Brown Ogota's children are setting great examples, he said warmly. I hope Ivy clears her tests as well. A fresh wave of whispers rippled through the hall. Friday's chest tightened. He had always known that his presence in Ivy's world was an inconvenience, something she barely tolerated. But now? Now it was a public scandal. And Ivy? She was beyond embarrassed. Her friends only knew Friday as the help's son. Now, the truth was out. That afternoon, Houston and Paris lounged in Houston's luxury apartment, her designer heels propped up on the glass table, his phone lighting up with endless notifications. The princely British school WhatsApp group was on fire, and Ivy's embarrassment was the main topic. She must think she's the queen of princely, Houston scoffed, scrolling through the messages with amusement. Now everyone knows she's just normal. Paris exhaled sharply, his jaw tightening. He hated how people were suddenly paying attention to Friday. Before this, he was the richest, most admired boy in school. Now, everyone was talking about some random scholarship kid. The idea made his skin crawl. Meanwhile, Houston had her own motives. She had been secretly dating Paris behind Ivy's back for months. Their parents moved in the same wealthy circles, vacationed in luxurious homes abroad, and attended the same exclusive events. Houston was everything Ivy wasn't: rich, unapologetically snobbish, and accustomed to a life where wealth meant power. His nothing, Paris muttered, running a hand through his hair. And Ivy? She's nothing too. Maybe it's time we made things official. Houston's lips curled into a smirk. You mean? Paris grinned. Yeah. Let's go public. Houston didn't need convincing. Moments later, she conveniently posted a very attractive vacation photo with Paris, her head resting against his chest, his arm draped around her waist. She captioned it "Paris and Houston in Milan. Oh, how sweet." The timestamp was visible, proof that this wasn't a recent fling but something ongoing. With a tap, the picture was uploaded to the school group chat. The reaction was instant. Gasps, Shocked emojis and frantic messages flooded in. OMG, Houston and Paris? Wasn't he just with Ivy? Wow, that's cold. By the time Ivy saw the post, it was already too late. Her phone buzzed with message after message. The air in her chest felt tight, like she couldn't breathe. Paris had humiliated her in front of the entire school. Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry. As if things couldn't get worse, a new post appeared. A video of her and Friday going home together for the first time after school in her sedan car. Before then, you see Ivy would order Friday's Uber. And the caption? Ivy's already moved on. Within hours, Paris and Houston's relationship was all over school gossip pages. Ivy was officially replaced. A week before Valentine's Day, Friday sat alone in the art room, his fingers stained with inks and pencil as he worked on something special. 4 days, he had poured his heart into a hand-drawn Valentine's card for Ivy. The sketch captured a tender moment, him kneeling, asking her to be his Valentine. He knew Ivy was struggling after Paris had humiliated her. Maybe this would make her smile again. But destiny had other plans. A notorious gossip and one of the school's most cunning troublemakers, Destiny had always been drawn to Friday. She resented how he barely noticed her, yet here he was, creating something for Ivy, a girl who never even acknowledged his presence in school. Sneaking into his drawing book later that day, she was curious to see who Friday, her bestie, was painting, half hoping she was the one. She spotted the card. Her eyes widened as she took in the delicate strokes of Ivy's face, the romantic gesture frozen in graphite. An idea sparked. This was too good to waste. The next day, during lunch, the cafeteria buzzed with chatter, forks clinking against trays. Ivy sat with her usual group, trying to ignore the stares that still followed her since the revelation about Friday. Then, a security guard accompanied by a delivery man entered. Ivy Brown-Ogota? The delivery man called. Ivy blinked, confused. Yes. The entire cafeteria fell silent. In honor of Valentine's Day, here's a special delivery. Before Ivy could react, the man presented a bouquet of flowers, a bundle of balloons, and a handcrafted card. Gasps filled the room. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some nosy students gathered to see who sent the card. Ivy hesitated before flipping the card open. Only Paris could do this. Perhaps he truly loved her, not Houston. There, in beautiful detail, was a drawing of Friday, kneeling, asking her to be his Valentine. She froze. The cafeteria erupted. No way. Friday is in love with Ivy. Paris, sitting a few tables away, clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. Houston? She nearly choked on her juice, bursting into laughter. Destiny smirked in satisfaction. The plan had worked. Friday, who had just entered the cafeteria, saw everything. His stomach twisted as he realized what had happened. Someone had stolen his card. Now, Ivy's humiliation was complete. That night, Ivy locked herself in her room. She stared at the portrait Friday had drawn of her. Unlike Paris, who made her feel like a trophy, Friday saw her as strong, radiant, powerful. Memories flashed in her mind. She had been so blind. Ivy wasn't sure when it started. The small, quiet moments. The way Friday was always there, just enough to notice, but never enough to demand her attention. The first time was before a school event, a fundraiser where everyone had to look perfect. She had stepped out of the changing room in her sleek red dress, her confidence unshaken, until her heel snapped. Panic rose in her throat. Houston and the others were already heading toward the hall, and Paris? He hadn't even noticed. She was about to remove her shoes altogether when a quiet voice said, "Give it to me." Ivy turned to find Friday crouched beside her. He had pulled out a small tube of super glue from his pocket. Of course, he carried something useful, and in minutes, her shoe was fixed. "You can walk in it," he said, standing up. She hesitated before muttering, "Thanks." Friday only nodded. He didn't expect gratitude. He never did. Then there was the time in math class. Ivy had always struggled with numbers, something Paris found entertaining. "Maybe math just isn't your thing, babe," he had said with an exaggerated sigh, barely looking up from his phone. "Some of us are meant to count money. Others, to spend it." The comment had earned laughter from their classmates. Ivy forced a smile, but the sting lingered. That night, as she sat frustrated at her desk, a soft knock came at her door. Friday stood there, textbook in hand. "I saw the test results," he said. "If you want help, I can tutor you." Ivy wanted to refuse, to say she didn't need anyone's pity. But something about his calm expression made her nod. But the moment that truly changed everything was when he stood up for her at home. Her parents were strict, especially her father. That evening, she had come home a few minutes late, and the scolding had been sharp. "Ivy, you're getting distracted," her father said sternly. "You need to focus on your essay." She wanted to argue, but Friday spoke first. "She was studying late at the library," he said. "She's been working hard." It was the first time Ivy had seen someone defend her so effortlessly. For the first time, she truly saw Friday. By the next school day, Ivy did something unthinkable. Over the weekend, she and Friday had gone shopping. New outfits, fresh sneakers. Gone were Friday's worn-out clothes and faded backpack. Now, he looked like he belonged. And people noticed. Girls who once ignored him suddenly giggled in his direction, whispered about how good he looked. Even teachers gave him approving nods. Paris noticed. Houston noticed. And it burned. From his usual spot in the cafeteria, Paris clenched his jaw, watching Ivy and Friday walk in together. They looked like a power couple. Ivy, effortlessly stunning as always, had perfected the art of looking expensive without trying too hard. But now, Friday matched her. He moved differently. Confidence replaced hesitation. For the first time, Paris felt threatened. "She's really with him," he muttered, gripping his fork so tightly it nearly snapped. Across from him, Houston seethed. It wasn't just Ivy. It was the fact that she had the audacity to shine without them, and nobody was suddenly the center of attention. It was supposed to be her and Paris ruling the Valentine's event, not some adopted charity case and his spoiled foster sister. Houston's eyes darkened. "She thinks she can replace us as the Valentine's king and queen," she scoffed. "No. We'll show her." Paris smirked, but there was no humor in it. This wasn't over. The moment the students sensed cracks in the once perfect relationship between Paris and Ivy, the school's gossip mill went into overdrive. It started after the cafeteria proposal debacle. Ivy's humiliation had barely settled when a few mischievous students, always eager for drama, saw an opportunity. With mocking grins, they threw Ivy and Friday's names into the Valentine's Day King and Queen nominations. It was meant to be a joke, a way to stir the pot and watch the chaos unfold. But then, something unexpected happened. More students began voting for them. At first, Ivy was mortified. She had spent years as the school's queen bee, Paris by her side, Houston as her closest ally. Now, she was being paired with Friday, the same Friday she had ignored for months. She was ready to dismiss it, but then Houston was nominated with Paris. And that changed everything. Ivy refused to let Houston have the last laugh. If this was how the school wanted to play, then she would own it. So, she leaned into it. She walked the halls with Friday, smiled at him in public, linked arms with him when people watched. And surprisingly, Friday didn't question it. He wasn't sure why Ivy was suddenly acknowledging him, but he went along with it. And just like that, the power balance shifted. What started as a joke nomination turned into a real rivalry. Paris and Houston had ruled princely British school for most of their senior year. Now, they had competition. The princely British school Valentine's Ball was the event of the year. Unlike other schools that celebrated prom, this was the night where the third-year seniors were crowned Valentine's Day King and Queen. It was a tradition. And this year, everyone had been sure the titles would go to Paris and Ivy. Well, at first. Then came Houston. Or say the betrayal. Come Friday, the most anticipated princely British school Valentine's Ball was a sight to behold. The red carpet stretched along the grand entrance, lined with cameras and flashing lights. Students arrived in style, draped in luxury, their designer labels on full display. But tonight, all eyes were on one person, Ivy Brownogota. She had spent hours perfecting her look, knowing this night would be a statement. Ivy stepped out of the car, a vision in crimson silk. Her dress was a custom-made, off-the-shoulder masterpiece, hugging her figure before flaring into elegant ruffles that brushed the floor. The deep red fabric shimmered under the golden lights, making her look like a walking flame. Her hair, styled in cascading waves, framed her face, and her makeup, bold red lips, glowing bronze cheeks, made her look effortlessly regal. And beside her, Friday Mackind, transformed. Ivy had painstakingly styled him, ensuring he looked the part. His usual simple attire was gone. Instead, he wore a perfectly tailored black velvet tuxedo, the crisp white shirt underneath complementing his dark complexion. A single crimson pocket square matched Ivy's dress, tying their looks together. His once unnoticed presence now commanded attention, his polished shoes tapping confidently against the red carpet. As they stepped into the red carpet, the crowd erupted into cheers. They were unexpected royalty. But then, like a perfectly timed storm, Paris and Houston arrived. Late. On purpose. Paris stepped out first, dressed in a sleek black Versace suit, his shirt unbuttoned just enough to exude careless confidence. A statement. He was still the Paris Kingston, the boy who ruled princely British school. And on his arm, Houston Wells was nothing short of dazzling. She wore a champagne gold gown, designed to outshine everyone. The fitted bodice sparkled with thousands of tiny crystals, while the dramatic slit up her legs showcased designer heels that cost more than most people's tuition. Her makeup was flawless, her high ponytail sleek and sharp. They were glamorous, powerful. The Valentine's Ball at princely British school was in full swing. The grand hall sparkled with soft pink and gold lights, students twirling across the dance floor, laughter and music filling the air. There was dining, dancing, and secret admirer gift exchanges. Excited whispers spread as students opened beautifully wrapped boxes, some with heartfelt notes, others with playful teases. Then came the celebrity performance, the supposed highlight of the night. The crowd cheered, but even as the music pulsed, everyone knew the real moment they were waiting for. The crowning of the Valentine's Day King and Queen. It was bigger than ever this year. What was once a predictable tradition, Paris and Ivy winning effortlessly, had turned into a full-blown scandal. A rivalry between ex-lovers. A betrayal between best friends. A sudden rise of an adopted brother. It was messy, and everyone was invested. The principal finally stepped onto the stage. The hall went silent. All right, princely British, the moment you've been waiting for. The winners of this year's Valentine's Day King and Queen are. The pause stretched. Hearts pounded. Everyone held their breath. Because this wasn't just about a crown. This was war. Paris smirked, already being geared on by his followers. Houston tossed her hair, posing for the cameras on her. The entire school buzzed with anticipation as Principal tried again. And the winners are Friday and Ivy. Gasps. Stunned silence. Then, an eruption of cheers. Paris and Houston froze. Houston's perfectly glossed lips parted in disbelief. Paris clenched his fists, his face twisted in barely concealed rage. Ivy and Friday stepped forward to the stage, Ivy's chin lifted, a soft smirk on her lips. Paris' gaze locked onto Friday's in disdain. For the first time, he wasn't the center of attention. Tonight, the spotlight belonged to Ivy and Friday. The crowd clapped and whistled as Ivy, elegant and confident, accepted the crown. Friday, once the ignored outsider, was now the star. He met Ivy's eyes as she placed the king's sash over his shoulder. Next, the couple danced to live songs by the celebrity guest. Soon others joined. Paris felt his stomach churn. His entire school year, ruined. He shoved past the crowd, storming out of the hall without another word. His throne had been stolen. Houston stood frozen, her hands balled into fists, nails digging into her palm. She could feel the whispers already. Paris had bet on her. Now he would blame her for everything. It was over. Later that night, as the event wound down, Ivy and Friday sat together in the school garden, waiting for their ride home. The air was crisp, the fairy lights from the event still twinkling in the distance. For the first time, they weren't surrounded by noise. For the first time, it was just them. Ivy let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. The night had been a whirlwind. She had spent so long worrying about status, about what people thought. But now, I don't care what they think anymore, she whispered. Friday turned to her, his expression soft. He had been waiting for her to say that. Neither do I, he murmured. For the first time, they belonged. Not because of wealth, not because of status, but because they had each other. Under the starlit sky, Ivy took Friday's hand. And Friday smiled, because he had the most beautiful girl in school as his Valentine. For their remaining school year, one thing is clear, nothing will ever be the same again. Friday came into Ivy's world as an outsider, but tonight, he proved he was more than just a shadow in the background. His talent spoke louder than wealth, shaking the foundation of princely British school. Ivy, once a clique girl, now stands at a crossroads. Paris and Houston's betrayal cut deep, but perhaps it was the wake-up call she needed. Status and wealth can be fleeting, but self-worth? That's something she'll have to redefine for herself. And as for Paris and Houston, their reign might not be as secure as they think. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know, whose side are you on? See you in the next video.